Hey horse friends, in today's video we're going to talk about blanketing horses and why you might want to do that, a little bit about how to kind of fit a blanket to your horse, how you might want to go about that. There's a few different options, everything of course. So first let's talk about why you might want to blanket a horse. There's a variety of reasons. Number one thing would be if your horse doesn't have a winter coat and they need the warmth and everything. And we'll go over it a little bit more in depth in a different video, but there's weights in blankets, there's gram weights of how warm they are and how you might determine what warmth you might need for your horse. And then you want to check waterproofing. And you have to redo that every so often to keep it waterproofed. Otherwise, if you have wet winters or wet springs in your blanketing, and your blanket isn't waterproof, it's going to soak into your horse and then kind of defeat the purpose of a blanket. So
there are also different styles of blankets. You got high wither, you got low wither, you've got cutouts in the front, depending on what the shape of your horse is. You know, I mean, you take a quarter horse and a warm blood, and they are very different shapes
in body and size.
But let's first get into like why you might blanket a horse.
So for me, I have a couple different horses actually that I blanket. One of them, she's my main riding horse right now, and one of the reasons I have her blanketed is because I clip her in the winter. And the reason I clip her is with the work that she does and how much and everything else, the sweating and everything else is going to take too long, and for the temperatures that we have, it would give her a chill and cause some other issues, so it's actually better for her to be clipped. So with the clipping, I blanket her, and I blanket her really warm, and so for her, because of the temperatures that we can drop to, which can be single digits, I blanket her in what is called a 300 gram. It's a heavyweight blanket. And it's really warm, and sometimes I'll double up with either a lightweight or a medium underneath that.
So to explain kind of what we've got going on here is we're decently far north. So it can get dark around 4 o'clock in the winter. We also can have 60-degree days and 20-degree nights.
Yeah.
So it's not enough of a window sometimes for horses that work hard to really dry. And it's really cold at night. So I kind of think of it as if you're really sweaty, and remember, it takes up to 24 hours for the horse to stop sweating at the skin level. So if you're sweating overnight, to me, it's like going to bed with a wet towel. That's not a fun experience. And there are ways you can dry horses, don't get me wrong, but when we're trainers, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
We just don't.
So that's why I have her blanketed. So some people will clip their horses and have blankets for that. I have another horse who just doesn't really grow a winter coat. As I mentioned in the beginning, that might be a factor. So she gets usually a medium weight, so it's not super warm, as warm as the other one, but she doesn't need quite as much, but she doesn't need it. And she is a hard keeper and tends to lose weight in the winter. So if your horse has all of their winter coat or has a good winter coat, but is a hard keeper and they tend to lose weight, also look into that, because adding calories, adding hay, yes, that can help, but sometimes adding in a blanket just helps them keep the weight on. Because yes, horses will generate heat from eating, but you have to look in what else might be beneficial for them. Another reason, and we do this with our school horses, is being senior. Their joints, their arthritis, and everything that helps them helps keep their backs warm so they can move around a little bit easier.
It's funny. So we have a horse chief that for several years just really didn't like wearing a blanket. And then, so we stopped blanketing him. And this year he's gotten old enough and his joints hurt that I can tell that he has really started appreciating it.
Yeah.
So we blanket him on the nights that it gets cold, and he moves a lot better.
Yeah. And it does make a difference. And, if you think about yourself, what helps you in different temperatures with cold, hot, whatever, we all have our things that, we prefer and can help us. So, and it's very similar to horses. So that can help Weight is one. I know I mentioned it before, but if your horse doesn't have good weight, they're going to be doing a lot more work to try to keep warm in the winter. And when I say not good weight, it could be something that they're just super fit. It's not necessarily that they're underweight, although if they are underweight, definitely help them out with blanketing, even if it's just kind of a lightweight or a medium weight.
That could be an old horse thing too, though.
Yeah.
You know, so. Yeah.
Now, I will put the caveat that sometimes you have to make the decision that works best for your horse too. So I have an old senior horse who will try to run you over and eat your face if you try to blanket him. He hates them. I don't know why. It's always been like that since I've had him. So I don't bother with it. It's not worth the stress on him to try and blanket him. So in that case, he kind of has to suffer a little bit, but that's on him.
Yeah, that's his choice.
You know, but it is one of those things where I had to make that decision. Like, do I force this issue and make it a even worse experience? Whatever his issue is with blankets, I don't know. I've never figured it out. And he's 29. It's not going to change at this point. I'm not going to make it for him. I'm not going to make him just deal with it. Right? I will throw more feed at him. I will do other things to try to help him stay warm. And he's ornery and he's still pretty sassy. So he's still himself.
Yeah. So another reason I would choose to blanket horses, and we get this quite frequently here, is we get horses that come from warmer climates that move up here in the fall. And I find that it takes almost a full year for the horses to adapt and to growing a bigger coat. And one of the things I want you to think about that a lot of people don't think about, and I kind of touched on earlier, is if you come from, let's say, the southern part of the US, you have longer days than we do. And it takes, and that we know that the longer days, right, create a shorter coat in general. So those horses have never experienced this shorter time frame, darker hours, which tells their body to secrete hormones to produce a longer coat. So it can take several years for a horse to adapt to their new climate, new living situation. And you might have to, if you move with your horse, do something that you've never done before, because you don't want to come into them shivering, right? You don't want to come into them getting a cold or getting sick or colicking because they're not, drinking enough, because they're just generally not feeling well. And another reason that I will blanket horses maybe that I've never blanketed before is kind of like what we're having right now. It's been 80 degrees and we're going to have a random snowstorm come through tonight. Yeah. And our horses have dropped their coat. They're shedding. Some of them have a beautiful, almost summer looking coat. And that's not fair. It's like a 90% chance of snow tonight. Mm-hmm. And I just feel that nature did them a disservice in this situation. So I think you will find a decent amount of people that are going to be blanketing tonight that probably maybe didn't even blanket their horses all winter.
Yeah.
So,
and that goes back to, looking at their coats and what they need. And then you have the option too, if say, okay, it's not necessarily getting cold, but it's wet. Mm-hmm. You can do a rain sheet. Yeah. Again, you have to make sure everything's waterproofed, but a rain sheet is it's very light. It's not going to be, it's just like a raincoat for you. It's not going to produce any warmth or anything like that.
You might have one of those hoodlums that doesn't like to go in their shelter.
Yeah, right? Stand outside.
Yeah. I provided you this nice shelter and you're not in it. I mean, come on.
Just stand out.
Yeah.
So those are a number of different reasons that you might want to consider blanketing your horse or need to blanket your horse. And again, you just kind of go, what's the best option for your horse for the time at? And like she said, it can take a little bit for a horse to acclimate to a new climate. And one of the things to consider with that is if they move to one place and then it's different than normal to that area, it can take even longer. We had a fairly mild winter, last couple winters really.
Yeah, we have.
And so it really, especially this winter, really didn't get all that cold. We really didn't have as much weather as we normally do.
No.
And so some of the horses we've had come in from, Southern California and places that are warmer and everything else, while it's still different from where they're from, it wasn't as much as it can get. So it's still going to take them a little bit to get used to for the next few winters.
Yeah.
Might be here.
So we're going to do a blanketing series on this. So we're going to do like how to blanket, how to size the blanket. And then we're also going to have some more discussions. So let us know in the comments, what you would like to see. And we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.